So, Chris, do you think you'll ever move back to North Carolina anytime soon?
It's something I've been thinking about, like, each year, the last couple of years since my lease has come up, because I can't stand the winter up there. But since I do art, there's a fairly good-sized art community in Columbus, so that's part of the reason I stuck up there. And there's a lot of construction going on. A lot of construction going on up there, too, since I kind of delved in that subject. But
Well, you can be a starving artist down here just as well.
yeah.
And there's plenty of construction going on.
Is there?
Yeah, all over out here.
Because I thought about moving back down here because there's an art school in Greensboro and apply to it for like a master's program.
There's a little bit of artsy areas down this way. It may not be as much as Columbus, but Greensboro has a little bit. Winston-Salem has a little bit. So.
Because I thought about moving to Charlotte too, because Charlotte's roughly the same size as Columbus.
You could find plenty of naked men to paint around here.
Have you ever thought about Asheville?
It sounds a little too hippie to me.
Okay.
It's very hippie.
Yeah.
It is. Big art community, but very hippie,
Yeah.
liberal.
Well, that's the weird thing too, because like I'm up there and I do art. Not so much anymore, but like go to all the like the gallery openings and stuff. But like I've become kind of disillusioned with the art gallery kind of idea as a whole. Then they're all very like liberal. A lot of them are like, because Columbus is like a sanctuary city.
Oh, God. I'd shut off. If I was the president, I would shut all federal funding off to any city or state that funded a sanctuary city or hosted one. I'd completely cut off federal funding to it.
So I was getting invites for. There's like one show. It's like I can't remember. But it was like a One Love refugee type.
A bunch of fucking betas.
Like borderless world type. I'm like,
Oh, it's a cuckold haven. Please, come on in. Destroy our Western civilization. Fuck our women. Oh, yes, I'm so progressive.
Well, it's funny though, because if you look at Ohio itself, like most of the state is red except for, I think the 3 counties that have Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. They're like the 3 blue dots.
I've got 3 blue dots.
Well, that's the thing too. Like if you are like an artist and you're conservative, it's, I don't know.
Don't worry, we're rising. The red wave's coming, and conservatism is counterculture. It's to be liberal is to not be trendy anymore. It's not hip. It ain't cool. It's just not. It's on the downswing. It got established over the 8 years of Obama's presidency, and it's declining. It's just
like,
mainstream. It's just
Yeah.
we are the new punk rock. The conservatives are the new punk rock.
Because I like follow people I went to like art school with on like Instagram, and a lot of them's like, especially they're like, believe all women. Why would a woman like make this up? I'm like, well, there's actual documented cases where they've like completely just fabricated it. Like,
Yeah.
Why would they do it?
I wonder what Emmett Till would think about believe all women. They beat him to death. And, those men beat him to death based on false testimony of a woman who said that he raped her and exposed himself to her, or whatever exactly the details were. But
I know there's like Duke Lacrosse situation.
Exactly.
There's like the mattress girl situation. There was the one girl that, was it in Texas, where she came to the church saying like 3 like black men like raped and beat her, and like that whole, it wasn't even like the whole thing was like fabricated.
I'm not saying that of course, women don't experience sexual assault, rape, all that stuff, and a lot of victims don't come forward. A lot of them don't because they're ashamed and they're afraid. But
I'm saying they're all fucking lying.
women are notorious liars. It's the way they manipulate men. They're weaker, so they try to take on the psychological advantage. And like I say, going back to virtue signaling. Usually a lot of beta males will jump in there. Oh, yes, I believe her. I'm a male feminist. I support the future's female. And that's their last-ditch effort to inject themselves into a group of females with hope of possibly passing on their genetics.
I think it's funny, too, because they're like... Because I've seen, like, these Democratic women saying that, like, certain men or certain things are sexist, but they're saying... I've seen a post of, like, we need to elect a Democratic female. Not like a certain person that just happens to be a Democrat. Like, I mean, that in itself is sexist or whatever. So I'm like, you just want to elect somebody that has like a left-leaning vagina or some shit?
Yeah, that's called equality of outcome. And it's bullshit, and it can't be done in a free society. Now, I'm all for equal opportunity, but you have the chance. You're given the chance to do as well of a job with equal opportunity. Now, with equal outcome, that's rigging the game in your favor, and that's bullshit, and that will actually cause the collapse of Western civilization. Like in California, they are trying to pass a law, and I hope it gets shut down. California's fucked either way, but they're trying to pass a law where there has to be an equal amount of women on the board of directors. So they just want to give women positions because they're women, not because they do as good a job. And they'll eventually end up running corporations into the ground and causing an economic collapse. Like I said, feminism's nothing more than a massive shit test that all these betas keep failing over and over and over. And eventually, when society collapses, the real men, if there's any left, will have to rise up and rebuild the fucking thing while women cower in their houses.
I mean, they want to say that, like, I mean, a lot of that has to do with, like, just different biological functions, because I know, well, it's firstly, like, women generally, not all of them, but, like, are kind of, like, more interested in, like, other people, while men themselves are more interested in things, and things can be scaled much larger and faster in, like, a business sense as opposed to, like, people.
Correct. Women think in circles and men think in straight lines. So a man can focus on one thing and make it his goal and block out everything else and achieve his goal. Where women think more bigger picture, and they're better with jobs that deal with people, and as far as like taking care of people and like sociological type positions. So they're better, like, and they've done this, I think, I don't know what country it was, but Jordan Peterson references it. Nova Scotia or some, one of those.
I think it's either Norway or Sweden.
Yeah, where women naturally went toward, like, what was it, nursing positions, jobs like that.
Yeah.
And men naturally went toward engineering positions.
Because it's saying, like, they had it was, like, the least amount of restraint put on, like, gender differences, so they figured that it should be, like, all the jobs should be equally male and female, but they found out, like, when there's no, I guess, restraints put on, that males generally tend towards certain things, and females generally tend towards people.
What kind of dumbass needs a fucking college or sociological experiment to figure that out? You can see that in kindergarten. I mean, my God, you try to teach boys to play with dolls and sew, and they'll turn it into fucking weapons. Turn the damn, like, the little dolls and, like, the sewing needles and all, and the fucking spears and shit. And the girls, you know, we're just created differently. I'm not even going to go on a tangent, but it's obviously common sense that men and women we're different and we're better at different things.
Because I think, because generally, there's a thing too. I believe it was the president of Harvard. I can't remember if he had to resign. He was saying that, like, going on the scientific bell curve, that, like, when you look at the middle ground, like an average male and an average female is roughly the same intelligence. But when you look at the extreme, men at the extremes are more intelligent than the women. And everybody got pissed, but also at the extreme of stupidity, men were more stupid than women, because women had more of a bell curve, like, in the middle, and the men, they were, like, less of a bell curve, so, like, they'd occupy the extremes more. But
I could totally see that.
But because it's saying, like, statistically, men are smarter than women just on, like, the top extremes. I can't remember if he had to resign or whatever it was, but it also goes that way with violence, that the general male and the general female is, you know, not the same. But when you go into, say, the prison, like, the 100 most violent offenders are always men.
Yeah, it's that high testosterone, low IQ combination.
Because you find the differences not necessarily at the median, but when you look at the extremes of something, then you can tell. Well, then you can tell the differences.
The left don't like facts because it debunks their whole, I feel this way, I feel that way. And they've redefined so many terms like gender, different stuff like that. So when you start presenting facts, and facts trump feelings, they can't stand it. They can't fucking stand it. So then they'll go, well, that was just racist. He's a xenophobe. He's transphobic. He said, don't feed the ducks in the park. He's transphobic.
Well, it's funny, though, if you disagree with them, like, on the basis of what all that means, then they'll call you transphobic instead of, like if you like homophobic is like you're
They don't even know what it means anymore. They just throw it at you.
if you what's the word I'm looking for? Not if you
Don't want to automatically date.
if you're discriminatory towards a gay person, then you're homophobic.
Right.
But it's gone so far that like with transphobic, if you're discriminatory towards them, it would be. But if you just disagree with their whole kind of thing, then they're like you're transphobic.
Or if you won't date a transgender woman because she wasn't born a woman, it's considered transphobic.
Yeah, they're trying to push that shit.
Yeah. It's eugenics on steroids, man. It's
What was that
insane.
one clip? I remember seeing a clip. I can't remember if you showed it to me. It was like a couple of years ago. It was like these two girls. I can't remember if they're both trans or just the one. And there's like two guys that were like talking. They found out as a trans, like, oh, they don't want to date me because they found out I have a dick. I'm like,
Yeah, they were on the beach.
yeah,
Yeah, they were on the beach. Yeah, well, they don't. Fuck. I'm sorry, but straight men don't want to date a person that has a penis. Straight men don't.
But what I've like kind of looked into and found out too, like,
It's a shocker, I know it, but it's you'll get used. You'll eventually accept the reality of it.
because there's some like trans women that are like, yeah, we're not all like this. It's just like it may be the extremes, like their extremes in their communities pushing this shit too.
And I'm all for people making their own personal choices. I am, but it's a lifestyle. It's not a reality. It's not cut and dried. You can't force it down our throats. If you want to live that way, I believe you have the freedom too, but don't shove it down our throats. And it's just, it is what it is. Don't make it into something else. Somebody that's a man that dresses as a woman or believes he's a woman is simply a man pretending to be a woman. He's living the lifestyle as a woman. He's still a man. His chromosomes say he's a man. The fact that the operation he had, if he had it, to remove his penis and create a vagina, the fact that that tries to grow up and heal itself constantly, that he has to put some kind of salve on his newly created pussy, means that he is still a man trying to heal up a womb. And it probably don't help that he's getting fucked in it either.
I mean, they're saying with the whole where it's under the the DSM as the gender dysphoria. They're talking about even the surgery itself has shown not to be, because it's like in that community, it's still the suicide rate is like still like at 40%, whether it's like pre-operation or post-operation, that doesn't really seem to be helping. And they're comparing that to like Jews in like Holocaust Germany, like I think their suicide rate was like 6%, which is crazy. So they're really linking it to it being maybe a part of a group of like different mental disorders or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely a mental disorder, and
I mean, I technically have a whole group of mental disorders.
I think we all do. But I mean, that for some reason, if you say that is, you're considered a xenophobe, and it's not the same as somebody choosing to be homosexual because they're not mutilating their body. They're not. They still accept that whatever gender they are, they're just attracted to the same sex. So it's not the same as that. And what the left is doing is they are glorifying a mental illness. They're also pushing it on children, creating more confusion by trying to tell kindergartners and first graders that boys and girls are the same, that doesn't exist. So they're trying to confuse children. That's how evil it is. They automatically, naturally know there's a difference. And so they're glorifying a mental illness, which is making it worse. What is the suicide rate? It's like 20 times higher after post-op or something?
No, they're saying it's still roughly the same.
Still roughly the same. It didn't change?
It's still roughly 40%. So even with that, it's not changing.
In my opinion, if you don't change your acceptance, you have to change your inside. Like, you have to change your perspective on things. You have to practice self-love. You can change your exterior all you want, but if inside you don't work on, the being within, you're never going to get better. And changing the outside does not change the inside. So that's why the surgery doesn't do anything. It's actually pitiful. These people are pitiful and they need help. And by glorifying their illness is not helping them. It's not.
I know there's another study too talking about the children where they're like children are very malleable, vulnerable. They're talking about certain children that are getting pushed into this like transgender thing Because, I mean, first children will, I mean, they act certain ways. Then they're showing, they had a study too saying that, like, children that are male that, like, kind of act very feminine and like, oh, you're transgender, because that's almost like the glitchy, like, the catchy thing nowadays. And they, like, kind of try to push them towards being transgender female. Some have, like, went back and said that it was a phase. But the study is saying that basically, like, without that, they would just turn out to be gay men. That, like, they're being very feminine is not necessarily you should just go trans.
It's not a, gender identity disorder or whatever. They may turn out to be homosexual, but they're not going to, like...
They're just feminine men.
Right, they're not going to be confused about their gender or try to mutilate themselves. They just prefer to date the same sex. They're not confused about their own gender. So that's kind of programmed in a lot of them's head. Like, people just take it and run with it. It's pretty sick. These parents that try to force that on their children should be charged with and convicted, hopefully, of child abuse. It's pretty sick. So,
because that's why Owen Benjamin got dropped by his agent. Because there's like a certain person out of Hollywood was pushing this, like his 6-year-old came out as a trans thing. He's like, no, this is like child abuse. This is wrong. Then he got dropped by his agent and his management. And then he eventually got kicked from like Twitter and stuff.
He's still on Instagram.
Yeah, he's on Instagram now.
Oh, man. Well, we could go on forever. We could get a whole podcast on each one of these segments. So, I think we're going to head out downtown Greensboro. And if you guys like what we had to say and want more of it, or if you didn't like what we had to say and don't want more of it, it don't fucking matter because there's more of it coming.